welcome to the show. I am your host, Bryan Lee Whatley. Our story begins tonight with our very special guest, physics teacher, musician, and most importantly, foster parent, Richard Anthony. Physics teacher by day, artist by night, but the all-time proud father of an adopted son. If not for the love between him and his son, the song Even If and the CDs that followed may have never have been written. The song was a response to his family members that asked him how he could risk getting attached to a foster child, not knowing if he may be going back to his birth parents someday. Like I said, Richard has three loves: his son, his love for teaching, and his music. And it's inspiring when you listen to how his story made him take that leap of foster parenting faith and found out it was meant to be. Well, Richard encourages you to become a foster parent, and you'll hear on why the things he did in his life already led him to do his extraordinary things. Our musical guest tonight is, of course, Richard Anthony, with several of his songs and videos, including one with the help of a student. And through a buffet of sounds, Rich's Even If song is set to delight the senses. The single is about awareness, and unlike the sad songs people create for a cause, Rich brings to life his love and belief through infectious, upbeat music. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome, Richard. How are you today?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited to talk to you and to have you on our show for our listeners for those three things that I mentioned. But before we get into all that, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
I think you said about everything. Well, I'm a physics teacher, and I write music for a hobby, and fostered a son that I have now adopted.
Some of the first things to talk about is I want to kind of come up with is the fact that you're a teacher and you teach physics. Actually, I have a degree in engineering and love physics. And I actually had this pun one time, or it's not a pun, it's something I got from somewhere. It was physics is fun with a PHUN. And every time I go to say that, everybody's like, Ron, I can't believe you laugh at that own joke. But I'm not kidding. Physics is one of the most fundamental science, mathematics type of work that I think anybody should learn, without a doubt. If you really want to understand on how the world works and how many, even toys that are made and all kinds of other stuff, it's all about physics.
Yeah.
So talk about that. How do you enjoy doing that? How do you enjoy teaching, and what made you get into teaching that?
Well, I've always loved science since a kid, and I just when I first funny story, I guess. When I was in high school, I actually didn't like high school very much, and I didn't think I really wanted to go to college, actually. But I knew I sort of had to get a good job, and I started at a junior college and went there for about a year and a half, and still not really knowing what I wanted to do. But by then, I actually started to like school again, and kind of just kept going and going. And the whole teaching and physics thing, it just happened slowly. I think in college, it took about 6 years to finally graduate because I kept changing my major. But at first, it was just a physics degree, and I had that my last semester in physics. I started tutoring somebody in math, and just enjoyed the fact of somebody wanted to learn, I wanted to teach, and it was just a pleasure to try to do that. So I thought, wow, teaching, I could do that, and ended up getting my teaching degree and going to school a little bit longer for that.
Yeah, it's not easy. A lot of people think it's easy to get a degree and be a teacher, but it's not. It's actually very difficult. It takes a lot of time, effort, and energy to be a teacher. So everybody out there, thank your teachers. And if you're one of them, thank you so much for being one, because it takes a very special type of person to do what you do, let alone teaching a course that you teach. And it's not one of those, unfortunately, from my days, it wasn't one of those more popular courses, right? Because it's so difficult. But once you really get into it, I'm not kidding about the physics is fun part of it, because I used to love our experiments that we would do. We'd take the knowledge from the book and we'd put it into this practical application experiment. And for example, there was this one that we did that it was projectile motion, and it was calculating how far a ball would shoot across the classroom, and if we could actually make it land in a bucket or something like that by measuring force and acceleration and all that other cool stuff. And it's one of the only classes you could actually shoot something across the room and not get in trouble for it.
Yeah, we had a physics teacher at our school that made these potato launchers.
Yeah.
We used that to describe projectiles, but we kind of decided those were a little too dangerous for the students. But we did let them use them one year. I mean, the whole world is described with physics, and it's amazing to me how it almost everything can be described with the mathematical formula. It's just crazy how that works. I mean, even gravity, like no one really understands gravity completely. But yet we have a formula to calculate the force of gravity between any two objects.
Yep.
Crazy.
One of the things, in terms of, a lot of people seem to think that being right brain or left brain, and sometimes it's hard to cross between the two. But I remember I used to be, it was so difficult for me to understand English up until or at least the English, grammar, composition rules kind of thing, up until the part to where I applied it towards mathematics. And I said, oh, okay, noun and verb equals sentence, A plus B equals C. And then I started getting it. And it was, like you said, a lot of things can be explained through mathematics. And that was one of the things that I used to understand all the rules and everything else that goes into English, was the fact of applying it towards a mathematical formula. And then it all kind of fit into place. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fun. Now, what are some of the other experiments that you guys like to do over there? And how do you get in contact or get connected with your students to get them fun and into learning, things like that? What are some of the tips and tricks you have out there?
Well, in physics, there's all sorts of demonstrations you can show, and college, I don't know how well it prepares you to teach high school. I mean, I had college-based physics and calculus-based physics.
Oh yeah, yep.
And in high school, you don't teach any of that, and I knew all the math, and I could do all the formulas and get the right answers, but there's still some things I didn't quite understand. And I worked with a great physics teacher that showed me so much. His name was Bill Blanc, and just different demos he showed me, like electricity. I could calculate the currents and voltages and resistances and the circuits, but not really understanding how it works. And he took this live cord, plugs it in, and there's two live ends, just bare wires hanging on the other side.
Right.
Like, so what's going to happen if I touch this one on my tongue? This is the 0 volt end. And he puts it on his tongue, and okay, nothing happens. He goes, well, this is the live volt end, the 120 volt here. And what's going to happen if I touch that on my tongue? I'm like, I don't know, don't do it. I didn't quite understand it. And he puts it on his tongue. And I was like, boom. And so it took me a while before I could do that myself. Like, here I am, a physics major, and that leap of faith, like, really? Like, I can put this on my tongue? As long as you don't touch both ends at once.
Right.
So that leap of faith I had to take one day, and I already had my physics degree. And we just we do some fun things. Like, we have a human hovercraft that basically glides on a cushion of air, just to describe Newton's first law. Things moving tend to keep moving, and in real life we're not used to that because there's friction that basically stops things all the time. But you take away friction, and things really do just keep going in a straight line. And try to relate it to their everyday life, like driving. I tell them all the time, I'm like, I think of Newton's first law when it's icy out all the time in the winter time, because if I'm making this curve, I know I don't want to naturally curve. The car doesn't naturally want to curve. It wants to go in a straight line. So you slow down and make sure it can handle that. And there's some tips on that. And I've had students come back years later and say, I still remember blah, 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 something I taught them, and it makes me feel good. Like right now I'm teaching circuits in physics, and a few years back I had a student stop me and tell me that he was becoming a heating, air conditioning installer person. I don't know, technician, whatever you call him. And
right.
All the formulas and everything were just coming back easy for him, and he was actually helping other people in his class. It kind of made me feel good, and
that rocks.
Glad that he could do what he wants to now.
That's interesting. You mentioned Newton's first law. I actually have a whiteboard that's over off to the side of the studio over here, and it has Newton's first, second, and third law up there, written up there. And I was drawing out some mathematical reasoning for some of the parts on it, and it's been sitting up there probably for a couple of years now, but I never erased it just because I like those laws. And so when you brought it up, I glanced over at the whiteboard. I was like, yep, it's still there. My son, of course, drew SpongeBob up underneath it, but that's that's him. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, well, actually, not a little bit, but about foster parenting and what made you get into it and how can you can help others, all that other good stuff about it.
Yeah, well, teaching. I guess it comes back to when I started teaching. I got to know students, and my first year was probably the most difficult at the end of the year. All of a sudden, the year ends, and I realized, wow, I'm not going to see half these people ever again. It's almost like a senior year all over again in high school. You just kind of lose a lot of people. And I actually was carry-eyed that year. The last day of school, like, oh, carry-eyed. And now I would never do that. I'd probably make fun of teachers that cried on their last day of school, but then I was, and I think I just thought I wanted to have a bigger impact than seeing a student for an hour a day for 9 months. I just thought I want to have a bigger impact on somebody's life than that, and I thought of fostering because of that. And I think teaching actually helped me to deal with the potential loss of fostering, because when you foster, normally the goal is to be reunited with their family. And, just every year when you lose a student, I think you just kind of get used to that. It's like this is, a cycle of life. And I want to foster and have a bigger impact on somebody's life. But if they have to go, I'm going to be ready for that. My family didn't quite understand that, though. My mother and father and sisters, I have 3 sisters and a brother, just kind of wondering how I could foster, because they would get attached, I would get attached, and eventually I'd have to watch the child go. So that was kind of a hard thing for them to understand why I was going to foster.
Well, fostering is one of those, and I really do encourage everybody to try it if you can. If there's a way for you to be able to foster a child, it's not for the light of heart, just like you mentioned. It's because of the time that the child will, either return or go some other place or something or another. And I can definitely understand on how it just kind of tugs at your heartstrings and how sad it could be. And even like you mentioned at the end of the school year, whenever your students leave, I was always sad to see my teachers leave, especially the ones that I loved. Right? I mean, those are the ones I really knew I was going to miss. And even the ones that weren't my favorite, but I still know that they were a great part of my life and helped mold me for the future and for the person who I am now. But it was always sad. And so for being a foster parent, I applaud everybody who does that, because it's to me it seems like it's difficult to do on an emotional state. It's very, very great for the child to get a really good foster parent and to help them along in their course of life, whatever their age or whatever it is they're going through. But it just seems that it's difficult to do on the emotional side, and so I applaud you for doing that. Can you talk about some of the kids you fostered?
Yeah, I've actually just fostered one.
Okay.
And I'm thinking about doing that again. But his name was Nick, and I fostered him when he was 5 years old. And from day one, I met him, and I just knew I would be ready to adopt if the chance came up. I mean, his initial goal was to go back home eventually, but I just knew it would be, so hard from day one. And I treated him like, he was my own from day one. I thought, he will go back home, but I tried to sort of the tough love at times, because I thought, well, if he was my own, what would I do? There was things that he was going through, so he was seeing a therapist and things like that. And there was a candy machine on the way into the therapist's office. I remember almost every week we'd go by this candy machine, and he'd just want candy. And if I didn't have the change, like, he'd get it in a fit and just start crying or whatever. And the therapist finally says, well, there's another door he can walk. You can just walk through this door on the the west side or whatever, and you don't have to go by that machine. I just kind of looked at her and like, well, I kind of want him to know that he can't get everything he wants all the time also, though. You know what I mean? I didn't want to do the easy route.
Right.
And I thought, well, if he was going to be mine, I wouldn't want that. I would want him to be able to, walk past the machine eventually. So kind of those things. So much of me just wanted to spoil him, but yet I still wanted to, put that discipline there.
Right. I mean, it's just good values. How can others get into it? How difficult is that?
Well, I just contacted DCFS, and they have different agencies. I worked with Children's Home and Aid, they're called. And you have to take classes. There was, I think, 40 hours worth of classes I had to take to be licensed. And then they just check out your home and so on, and that's about it.
Oh, okay. Now, Nick, you said that he was originally, you thought he was going to go back to his mother's or something?
Yeah. So that was his initial goal, and his mother just was going through things that she really couldn't take care of a kid.
Right.
And I'm sure that was hard for him. Well, I know it was. I mean, the first few nights here, I mean, all of a sudden he's just taken away from home. And no matter what, you love your mother, and so he'd be crying at night, missing his mother. And it was difficult. Some difficult times. He actually used to be on medication, so for mood disorder, and about $1,000 worth of medication a month. And I would worked hard on getting him off of that. Worked with the therapist and things like that. Got him off of that. He's doing really good now. Yeah, I mean, I give his mother credit. She signed him away to the States with his best interest at heart, and I was asked if I wanted to adopt him, and I said yes. And that was one of the best days of my life, actually, when he was officially mine. It was just amazing.
So you officially adopted Nick, and now he's with you.
Yes.
Is that common with fostering? Do people fall so much in love with the child that, they, if the opportunity arises for them to adopt, that they do?
I don't know how common that is. I could even ask my agency. I would even ask them, like, well, how often does adoption come up, or this or that? They really don't give you percents or anything like that. It's so I really don't have an idea of how many of them even go up for adoption. But when you foster, when you get licensed, you actually have a choice. Like, if you just want to go for adoption, they have kids, children right now that just are already adoptable and waiting for a home. So you don't have to foster and think, they're going to go back home one day. There's children that are already looking for a home that are able to be adopted.
Well, I think that's good on both ways. If it is common, which from a couple of people I know who have fostered before, they didn't necessarily adopt, and the hard part of it was for whenever the child returned or moved on to another state of their life, it was always difficult. So the fact that you're actually able to adopt, I think that's wonderful. I think because of the bond that you guys were building and the values that you were setting forth in him, and then now that you still continue on to be as an adoptive father, I think that's absolutely wonderful, because I think it's so difficult in this world for people to exist in, let alone to grow up without a good, strong personality there with them. And so the fact that you can still do that, I think that's amazing. So congratulations on that.
Well, thanks. And there's some people that have fostered for maybe just a year or two, and years later the child is still in contact with them, so they still have this influence on this child, which is awesome. I took a class with a bunch of people, to be licensed, and I've heard some awesome stories like that. But even though it's over, they're not living with them anymore, that they still might talk once a month or something like that to their previous foster parents.
What's about the normal age of kids being fostered?
Wait, what's the normal age?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a normal age. I think just up to when they're 18, I think.
Okay. Oh, I wasn't too sure of that. I was sitting there thinking about that.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's just for whatever reason they get taken away from their home. I mean, it's abuse or neglect and so on. Like my foster child wasn't abused or anything, which is nice. But basically, just it was neglect where she just didn't have the time for him.
Right. So, do you think you will again foster another child?
Yeah, Nick became almost like a full-time job. And like you said, I'm a teacher, have a son now, and music as a hobby and so on. And I have about 16 nieces and nephews, neighbors with kids, so he's always playing. He's playing right now with some kids, and I just remember the effort that it did take for the first few years with him, because it was some difficulties with his behavior and so on.
Right.
But I don't know if I would want to do that now, but I am thinking about it in the future.
Well, I think that's good. So obviously, the best of luck if you decide to do it again. And you fostering Nick, it's turned out so wonderful for both of you. I think that's truly amazing as well. So I've never really heard of any horror stories, but I love to hear, like you said, whenever kids still keep in contact with their foster parent, or because there's a strong bond, I believe, with the majority of kids who go into foster homes and with their foster parenting, getting taught values and things like that go on, and so they're a special part of their life at one time, and so whenever they can relate back to them later on, as a grown up or just another part of their life, I think that's good. There's been several times that I guess I thought about fostering as well, and I've always just wondered about it. And so that's why I'm so excited to talk to you about your story and what you do for fostering Nick and how well it's turned out. I think it's just an amazing story. And there's a couple of other things that you're doing as well in terms of you being a musical artist. You have a song that you're putting out that you wrote, and I want to talk about, but it's called Even If. And the great thing I like about this song, well, I mean, it's a really great song anyway, but all the money that you're making from the song, you're donating it back to foster parenting, right?
Yeah, there's an organization in Chicago called Mercy Home for Boys and Girls, and one in Joliet called Garden Angel Home. And any money that I make, I donate to those organizations.
So I think that's awesome. Can we talk about the song Even If and what inspired you to write this?
Yeah, well, it was during the time when I was still just fostering Nick, and again, my family not really understanding that because he could be sent home at any time. And so even if it's just a song about just being happy for the time you have, it sort of reminds me of a quote that actually Dr. Seuss wrote.
I love Dr. Seuss.
Yeah. So it says, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
I love that quote. I usually put that on the board if I remember the last day of seniors. It's just, when they're all in tears, or their last days or whatever. But the song's sort of about that, that the time, whatever happens, the time you had is still worth it. And I wrote it sort of about, I think, with Nick in mind, but sort of trying to relate it to other things that can happen, like if somebody has to go away for military reasons or something like that. There's so many reasons why people separate when they don't really want to.
Yeah. I'm a former military person. I spent 14, 15 years in the Army Guard and stuff like that, and I got deployed all over on different places, and it was always tough to leave. And so my last venture over to Iraq, it was tough to go, but it was just kind of one of those things. And then when I left Iraq to come back, I was sad about that. And so I was like, oh, our God, got so much bond and camaraderie and all the other stuff. And so I like the fact that you put the song in terms of it's not really about one thing or the other. It's just about overcoming the situation. And so, like you said, whether it's military or you're just saying goodbye to somebody or you're leaving somewhere else for a job, I think that's great.
Thanks.
Here is Richard with Even If.
From the moment we met, I knew it was for a reason. Whether a lifetime or just a season, we gave each other new life without even knowing magic grew in us that kept on growing. The mysteries of the universe can toy with the soul, despite us not wanting to play anymore. Heaven's wisdom is rarely seen, and today it made the choice that you must go away. And all I can say is that even if we're not together, when you touch a life, it lasts forever. I can feel it in my soul. Now I'll never really be alone. Even if we're not together, the love shared will last forever. I can hold you in my heart. Now we'll never really be apart. Even if we're not together, even if we're not together, even if we're not together, even if we're not together. We arrived at the airport, people everywhere, but they just seem to vanish into thin air. Now it's only you and me, embrace so powerful. It seems to have frozen time. Your tears melt into me, your body merges into mine. I dreamed that this moment could always stay, but I realized we'd suffocate if we remain this way. I release my hold, and you hold on even stronger. So I move away and you walk away. You're not mine any longer. You're not mine any longer.
Why must you go? Is there another way? We don't deserve this pain. Don't go.
But the mysteries of the universe can toy with the soul, despite us not wanting to play anymore. Heaven's wisdom is rarely seen, and today it made the choice that you must go away. And all I can say is that even if we're not together, when you touch a life, it lasts forever. You can feel it in your soul. Now you'll never really be alone. Even if we're not together, the love shared will last forever. I can hold you in my heart. Now we'll never really be apart. Even if we're not together, 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 even if.
A couple of other songs that you have, like "Love Is Power." What was the meaning about that?
I'm sorry. What was the meaning behind that?
Yeah. So, like, what did it mean to you? What, the feelings that you felt whenever you wrote it. Whenever I talk to musicians, I love to find out what inspired them to write it. What's the meaning behind it? Because sometimes whenever I listen to music, I'm interpreting the lyrics and the notes and everything else. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, this is what it means to me. But when I get a chance to talk to the artist who actually wrote the song, then I like to find out what does it mean to them and what was the purpose for writing it.
Yeah. Well, one of the first lines says something like, "Don't you doubt the things that love can bring." It just the title says it all almost. Love is just powerful. I mean, it can do things that hatred can't. You think of anything. If you want to be a great artist or a great teacher or a great whatever, I mean, you do what you love, and that's I'm trying to put it into words. I can't really describe it. Just that love is powerful, and if you love what you do, or you love the people you're around, or you try to spread your love, it's just going to do more than if you're hateful.
Yeah, sure. I like that. Well said.
Here is Richard with his song, Love is the Power.
Wherever you are, in the world near or far, we are gonna come together, holding hands across forever. Wherever you are, in the world near or far, we are gonna come together, holding hands across forever. 'Cause love is the power. Love is the power. Love is the power. Energy, 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 energy. Don't you doubt the things that love can bring. It can make the whole world sing. Love can heal the things that we destroyed. Turn it all around and make it into joy. You just take time and give it a try. Open up your heart and let the world inside. No fear, no hate, or jealousy. We can make this all a reality. Love is the power. Love is the power. Love is the power. Love is the power. Brothers, I'm talking to you. Sisters, I'm talking to you. Brothers, sisters. Wherever you are, in the world near or far, we are gonna come together, holding hands across forever. Brothers and sisters live on the streets, no clothes on the back and no food to eat. We can help others that are in need, give them faith and hope and prosperity. You just take time and give it a try. Open up your mind and let the truth inside. No pride or lies or selfishness. Open up your heart and it all makes sense. Love is the power. 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 Wherever you are, in the world near or far.
What about the song "Lonely"?
Yeah, lonely.
'Cause that's
And I wrote that when I actually had Nick in my life as a son, and other people in my life. But sometimes there's just days, and I think I was in one of those moods. I mean, most of the time I'm happy and don't feel lonely, and maybe once every 6 months I just I got in that mood where it's just like, wow, like hard to describe. It's just kind of alone. Like sometimes you have feelings or thoughts that you just feel like you can't express to other people, and just kind of alone with those feelings. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be with other people and still feel lonely in a way.
Here he is with Lonely.
Ever feel lonely, like the world exists, but there's only you, only you. Now I'm all alone and lonely, no one's here and it's only me, only me. All alone in this house of mine, in the shadows where I cry. I used to like these quiet moments, but today I'm empty inside. I could reach for someone's hand, but today I have no strength. I have no energy. Can someone reach for me? Lonely, like the world exists, but there's only you, only you. Now I'm all alone and lonely, no one's here and it's only me, only me. Walk along the city streets, everyone pass me by. This be possible? Feel like I'm living a lie. I want to scream in desperation. I'm about to lose my mind. I hold my composure as I watch you walk on by. Are you lonely? Are you lonely? Up to the stars tonight, just trying to find mine. Said my friendly words today, everyone says they're fine. We don't share our hopes and fears, we don't share what's deep inside. Why is that so hard to do? Does anyone even try? There's only you, only you. Now I'm all alone and
Do you find some of your influences in life helped you to write the music that you write now? So I've heard that like one of your influences is like Stevie Wonder, but you've got so many different ones like Pet Shop Boys and Michael Jackson, things like that. Do they guide you into your music? Because I really don't. Just to be honest with you, I really don't see Pet Shop Boys. I mean, the Backstreet Boys or the Pet Shop. Those are great bands, but your music is so deep. It's so emotionally strong, and so I could definitely see Stevie Wonder. But that's why I was just kind of thinking, okay, your influences for some of these songs on this particular CD is just like I said, it's so emotionally deep about it. Is that true? Is that really what some of your thoughts are on the CD for the songs? Which is perfectly fine. Love songs rock the world as love rocks people. And so that's why I was just wondering as I was going through and I was listening to your music, I was like, wow, this is emotionally tough. It's emotionally thorough.
Well, that's great to hear. But wow, yeah, I mean, Pet Shop Boys, I do like their music also, and I have written some sort of more dance type songs.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if you heard those, you might say, oh, I can kind of sort of see that he is inspired by them a little bit. But I don't really write a song thinking about another artist in a way, but I think I'm influenced maybe subconsciously. Like somebody once told me that I reminded them of James Taylor. And I forgot who James Taylor was. I was like, James Taylor, and I had to look him up, So I looked him up, and I was like, wow, like, oh my gosh, James Taylor. Like, I remember him when I was a kid, and his songs would be going through my head, like, thou are the people you love with love, and just those nice songs like that. I was like, oh, and then I realized how much he probably did influence me. I would be humming those songs in my head when I was 5, maybe, so.
Well, even songs. Well, actually, now I think about it a little bit more. Backstreet Boys and stuff like that. The video that you guys have put out, because if anybody wants to go check out those videos, and I encourage everybody to go check out their videos because they just rock. And you can find them on YouTube under underneath him. But the video seems with the choreography and with the choreograph and everything else that goes on with it, it seems kind of like that. I guess it did have a little bit of Backstreet appeal to it.
That was by chance, I think.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Yeah, actually, in some of those videos, I didn't plan to be in. Like, "Love Is the Power." Well, I worked with the guy that produced the album. Actually, talked me into doing some videos for them. So his name was Victor Crowell, and produced the songs, and then also did the videos. And my thought was just to have the students do it. And I'm in the Arts and Communications Academy at my school. They have different academies. Okay. And so a lot of my students are into just any kind of art, photography, journalism, and so on.
Yeah.
So I kind of just left it open. Who wants to be involved in making a music video? And some were like behind the scenes and gave ideas and so on. But yeah, it was filmed pretty quickly, like in a day. Like I had no idea we were going to choreograph anything. We were just there, and like we just kind of went with whatever ideas happened. And he's like, okay, now you do this, and you pound your fist on the desk, and whatever happened that day is what we did. And he edited all that, and it looked pretty nice, I guess.
So you're saying the video "Love Is the Power" was filmed in a day? That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Holy cow! I would have swore you guys took weeks to do that one. I mean, just because of everything, like you were talking about, the kids pounding on. You were standing in front of your classroom. You got kids kind of interacting with it, and I think it's great. I mean, you're walking up and down stairs, and you're also doing all kinds of cool stuff. I think that's so you pulled that off within a day. Wow, man, that's pretty impressive. Congrats to everybody out for doing that. And the fact that you get all your kids involved too. Now, are these your students and stuff?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Do they enjoy making videos with you?
Oh yeah, they had a great time. I hope they did. I don't know if they just came for the pizza, because I did say I'd give them some pizza, but they liked it. I have this one student this year he's a senior now, and he's always asking me, if you ever do another video, I want to be in it.
Oh, that's cool.
I'll have to get another one going.
Well, I thought it was...
But yeah, I Oh, sorry. But yeah, I really appreciated their help, and it made the video. You know, I kind of just envisioned it just the students, but they were a great help and turned out awesome because of the students. You know.
Yeah. Well, just again, just the fact that you did that one in a day, I'm still so very impressed with everything, because it takes a long time to do video work whenever you're doing something like that. So congratulations to everybody there. And I think it's really cool that you get your kids involved with it. So many times people get involved inside of the video for whatever other reason, to help push themselves, or because they feel like doing it. But you get people that you know that's involved in it. I think that's great. It's not necessarily like hired help or anything like that. So I think that's cool. I think that's pretty awesome that you guys did that.
Thanks.
Now, there's one other thing that I wanted to mention about your writing. Now, you write songs that they're not necessarily just for you to sing, but other people can come to you and get some of your songs and stuff like that and record them as well. Is that right?
Yeah, right. I mean, my ultimate goal would be to have somebody that is already semi-famous hear one of my songs and say, "Hey, I want to record this on my CD." That would be a dream.
Okay.
But yeah, I mostly do it for the writing. I love just trying to put my thoughts into words, and the singing kind of came second, because when I first started to record, it's like, oh, here's the song I wrote. Where are we going to get to sing it? Actually, the first time I wrote a song, it was for a friend's wedding, and I wrote it with her brother, and he played the piano. I wrote the words and melody, and we kind of worked on it together. And about 2 weeks before the wedding, I was asking, so we finally finished the song, who's going to sing it? And he looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, you are. I didn't expect that. I just did it for the writing. But so I sang at the wedding, and it was actually a good feeling, though. I had some compliments and thought, well, singing's not too bad, but mostly for the writing. I love the writing part more.
Nice. Okay, so everybody that's listening out there, if you go check out some of his songs and you want to record them, then just give him a shout out and let him know. Or if you got a song in mind that you think it's possible that it'd be a really great tune, but you don't know how to write it, maybe you would help write them the song, and then they can go off and record it. That would be cool.
Yeah.
All right. So what are some other future projects and shows and things like that you're working on? Because you seem to be pretty busy.
Yeah. Well, I don't have a band together or anything like that, so it's just me and whoever I get to work on music. And I this last CD basically started with the song "Even If." You know, I had Nick, and kind of just inspired me to finish a full CD. I'm pausing it, but I want to finish another CD hopefully within 2 years.
Okay, so how can people contact you if they do want to write your songs and things like that? What are some of your websites that they can go out and check you out on?
You can email at artistrichardanthony@yahoo.com, just all one word. Or I have a website, richardanthonymusic.com, and or YouTube, youtube.com/artistrichard.anthony.
Okay, and also I think iTunes and Reverb Nation.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and remember, everybody, if you go out and you check out the song, and I highly encourage you guys to, even if, remember the song, the purchase of the song, all the money goes back to foster parenting. So I highly encourage everybody to go out and download this song and check it out. It really is a really good song. Okay, so some final thoughts you would like for everybody to know.
Well, part of interviewing, my thought is hopefully I'll inspire someone to hopefully foster. I wouldn't rush into it. I mean, if it's been on your mind for a while, it was a great experience for me, and turned out awesome. You know, I now have a son, and you know, if you're willing to put in your time and effort, it's a great payback.
Nice. I completely agree. All right. Well, on behalf of everybody, I'd like to thank you for being on our show. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and you know, congratulations on all your success for being a great teacher, the music that you're pushing out, all the benefits that Nick gets from being involved in your life, just for you being an outstanding person and for you getting all the benefits of him being in your life. So I just think that's wonderful. So thank you so much. It's been a really great pleasure talking to you.
Thanks. Same here.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
At Taylor Gifts, we do customized monogramming and embroidery. We can monogram anything from a simple one name on a bib for a baby to a customized logo on a company shirt. We can make gifts for your wedding entourage and gifts for your friends. Label your children's items for school and put names on jerseys for sports. If you have items of your own you want them monogrammed and embroidered, we can do that. Tailor Gifts are sewn with high-quality thread on a professional embroidery machine. So go to the website www.tailorgifts.net, call 251-391-4354, email sales@tailorgifts.net, visit us at ETSY, and Facebook us. We are ready for your orders.
Welcome to WROM, Realms of Music Radio and Social Network. We support independent artists and talk shows, hosting a large discussion forum and an artist gallery. We also have a large social network combining the best of Facebook and MySpace into one. So make sure you submit your music to us and create a profile to promote yourself today. That's realmsofmusic.com, the best of music radio.
The Ghost Tales Television Network, GTN. GTN is designed to give the paranormal TV and filmmaking community the opportunity to showcase their talents and creations. If you believe you have what it takes to create your very own TV show and or short film and you would like the opportunity to showcase your creations, you may contact us at ghosttellstv@gmail.com or call 901-377-7166 for more details. Make sure you visit ghosttellstv.com. GTN, America's Paranormal Superstation.
Jackalope 105 FM on jackaloperadio.com. Your alternative to the grind of internet and FM radio. When we say diversity in programming, we mean it. Lots of stations brag, throw out a hype, and pad their numbers. Well, we don't. Accept no limitations. When you truly want awesome 24-hour radio, tune in to Jackalope and rock your routine. Jackalope 105 FM on jackaloperadio.com.
Thank you for listening to the show. I'm your host, Bryan Lee Whatley. I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next time when another story begins. Until then, love and light.